Got 2:03, so we'll get things started. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tony Rudzowski. I'm Sales and Marketing Coordinator for Turnkey Technologies. From everyone here at TTI and HP Aruba Networking, we want to thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedules to join us today. If you're on the call and you're not familiar with Turnkey Technologies, we are a global provider and value-added reseller of networking and security solutions across all vertical markets. We're your one-stop edge-to-cloud service provider. At TTI, we don't work with every vendor under the sun like our competitors. It's important to know we carefully select and evaluate our partnerships. We only choose to work with the best of breed technologies, such as Aruba Networks and HPE, to deliver to our customers. We've achieved the top tier of partnership, platinum partner status with Aruba, and has also been invited to be part of the Global Ambassador Program at both HPE and Aruba. It's an elite group of only 56 global partners that are shaping the future of our business. But when it comes to real value add, our key differentiator is the way we support our clients. TTI provides complimentary 24/7, 365 help desk support for the first year with every installation we do. It's over and above your manufacturer support, and it's all handled in-house by our award-winning TTI engineers. It's our passion and our mission to ensure that your solution runs flawlessly. We don't know anyone in the business that provides this level of support, and it truly does set us apart from any other technology partners you may have worked with in the past. The reason we're able to do this, we trust in the products we offer. Equally as important, we trust in our experience and the design that we create for you. On top of that, we have the greatest team of engineers on staff in the office ready to help. They're all deeply certified, both with the manufacturers we support, but also agnostically. Our dedicated clients often tell us our engineering team has become an extension of their team, and that's really our goal. We believe you couldn't make a better choice than to partner with TTI for your networking and security needs. You were invited today because we're interested in meeting with you and your team in the near future to see where we can help. More on that later. Today's presentation is on HPE Aruba Networking's recent acquisition of Axis Security. We encourage you to put any questions you have into the Q&A during the event, and they'll either get addressed live or when we conclude. You were all promised a complimentary gift today, a Yeti Camino 35 carry-all tote bag. I'll be sending out a questionnaire directly following the presentation to collect all your shipping information. Just allow me about 2 to 3 weeks to get your gifts delivered. Our presenters today will be Roger Clark, EDGEconnect Channel Sales Engineer for HPE Aruba Networking, and our very own Aruba and HPE Global Ambassador, Chris Vole, our VP of Technical Services for Turnkey Technologies. I'll let the experts take it from here. So without further ado, here are Roger and Chris to kick things off.
Great. Thank you, Tony. I appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here with you all, and we'll get moving forward here in our presentation. So let me see if I can get this one going.
And hello, everyone. This is Chris Vole. I'll be here as well. I'll be handling some of the Q&A, and I'll probably add a little bit of color commentary. We'll see how everything flows.
All right, as I get into presentation mode here, hopefully it's going to work out for us. There we go. Can you all see my screen now?
Yep, we got it.
Okay, perfect. All right. So the topic for today's presentation is Aruba's unified SASE solution. So we'll go through some slides and talk about what SASE is and all the definitions and why it's important and what it brings to the table. All right. So if we look at the way we all work today, right, things have changed dramatically from just a few years ago, pre-pandemic. We were all in the office every day. But then, unless you're in sales or something like that, where you might be a road warrior, but most people were in the office every day. But things have changed pretty significantly, right? We now have hybrid and remote work, which has really changed the landscape. But how we need to protect those corporate resources, how we need to provide access to resources that might be cloud-based, and that's another thing. All of our resources are no longer simply in a data center that we, control 100%. We now take advantage of a lot of different cloud-based resources. So whether it be, something like I don't know, Office 365, or we're using Salesforce, or we're using, other applications that might not be on-prem. They might actually exist in the cloud. But by the same token, we also have resources that do still exist within our data center. So somehow we need to actually be able to access those and protect those. And that's really, some of the challenges that actually, surround an organization, or that an organization has to address and overcome, right? Because we need to protect all of that data that we have. So we have this race against the dissolving perimeter, right? As I mentioned, a lot of our applications, now no longer live just in our data center. They might live in the cloud, and our people are no longer within our staff is no longer within the four walls of our organization. The work from home is, everywhere now, right? Everybody works from home, for at least a few days a week, probably. So protecting those resources is really a very significant challenge that everyone has to address and overcome. The legacy approach that we had, provides that legacy experience, but isn't always a very good thing, right? So a lot of times we would have internet backhauling to a centralized firewall, which means that, if we're working from home, we would dial into, a VPN concentrator, for example, that lives within our data center. And we'd be chewing up that WAN bandwidth, all of us trying to connect, trying to put a big load on that WAN concentrator itself. We'd be backhauling all this traffic, and it can actually, be a fairly negative impact upon the usability of those resources and the access to those resources. It can also be very difficult to apply the appropriate security policy across all the different devices that people might be using, and whatever that particular individual's role might be as well, because not all users should have the same access. They should be able to, an employee might have a different, set of resources that they have access to, while a contractor might have something else. And VPNs are only designed to handle the needs of users connecting to the network, but they don't necessarily address workloads in the cloud. So again, a lot of the things that we use today aren't necessarily in the data center. They are, they live in the cloud in AWS or Azure or wherever they might be. So in that case, it doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense for our end users to connect through a VPN concentrator into our data center so that we can turn the traffic around and send it back out to the cloud, get the resource back into the data center, turn it around again, and back out to our end user. Right? It really has a negative impact upon everyone's experience, and really kind of increases the costs for the organization as well by doing that. By demanding more bandwidth than what really should be necessary. So some solutions exist, but alone don't necessarily offer comprehensive coverage. So what does that really mean? So if you really think about SASE, it's oftentimes drawn as a circle, and there's two sides to that circle. There is the SD-WAN side, and the security service edge side. So if you're looking at the secure SD-WAN side, there's basically site-to-site connectivity for branch offices. How do you connect all those different sites together so that people in those sites can access resources that they need to have access to? You need to provide next generation firewall capabilities, all those sorts of things that people in the branch offices need. But what we're going to focus on today is the security service edge side of things. And that entails things like zero trust network access, cloud application security broker functionality, a secure web gateway functionality, data loss prevention functionality, and ransomware prevention. All right, so what we really want to do is focus on securing connectivity for end users wherever they might be connecting from. So whether they might be at a branch office, or maybe they're working from home, or maybe they're on the road, wherever they are. And some of the things we have, these things lacks the ability to secure IoT devices on-prem. So we can also address that through the security service edge. So we ultimately want to securely and reliably connect users to applications, again, wherever those applications might be. And we need to provide reliable connectivity to mission critical applications. Again, doesn't matter where I am, shouldn't matter where that application is. We need to have good connectivity so that we can ultimately, achieve our tasks that we need to get done, so we can get the job done. That's really what we want to do. So we need to have that reliable, secure connectivity between the end users and those resources wherever they might exist. And then we need to be able to rapidly identify problems and deploy changes to the network within minutes, not months. So we need to have a tool that will actually show us what's going on within the network, what an end user might be experiencing at any given time, so that we can identify problems, again, hopefully before the phone rings, saying that there's a problem. We can actually see that there's an issue and we can address it and resolve it, again, quickly, so that, again, we can achieve the goals of the business. So HPE Aruba networking approach to zero trust and SASE includes our SSE solution. So our solution includes an agent and agentless zero trust network access model. There's unified policy management across all the different aspects of security service edge. So that's a unified policy management model for whether it be ZTNA or secure web gateway or cloud application security broker. There's basically one interface that you have to work with. So it simplifies the tasks there. There's the EDGEconnect SD-WAN portion, so connecting multiple sites together. And again, bottom line, improving that quality of experience so that end users always have a good experience. They don't need to call the help desk that, hey, I'm having a problem with my connection. I'm dropping phone calls or meetings or whatever. That's where SD-WAN really helps shine for those users who might not necessarily be in corporate headquarters. And then also incorporating things like and working with Aruba Networking, Central Net Connector, and ClearPass Network Access Control. So being able to get information from, say, ClearPass to identify who those users are that are connecting to the network, and then being able to assign them the appropriate access to resources. So maybe, again, they might be a contractor, they might be, whatever their role is, HR versus finance versus engineering or sales or whatever, they get access to the right resources, which might in fact change the way their traffic may be handled and what they have access to out on the internet. So what is SASE? So this we just kind of discussed. It's really two sides of a circle, right? There's the SD-WAN side and the SSE side. Today, most of our focus is going to be on the SSE side. So it's zero trust network access, cloud application security broker. That means things like access to Dropbox, what you can do when you get there, Dropbox, Box, those sorts of things. A secure web gateway. What does that mean? Making sure that people are going to the right types of resources and not going to sites that you don't necessarily want them going to. Zero trust network access. Having the minimum amount of access required for them to fulfill their duties. Right? We don't trust them when they come on. We're going to authenticate them, and then we're going to provide access to the things that they're supposed to have access to. DLP, data leak prevention. So we want to make sure that we're controlling our data so that it cannot be exfiltrated or lost. So we're going to be, watching for that, and we can, view this traffic as it traverses the security service edge engine. So the unified SASE model for HPE includes, again, as I mentioned, the EDGEconnect SD-WAN portion on the left and the SSE portion. So again, ZTNA, SWIG, CASB, and DEM. And it can be deployed wherever those users may be coming from. So maybe they're working in a headquarters office, a branch office, they're working from home, they're on the road. Part of what that security service edge functionality is it provides connectivity for those users wherever they might be coming from. So again, maybe it's dependent upon who they are, maybe it's dependent on where they are and what they have access to. All of those sorts of things can be controlled through the security service edge. And ultimately, it controls what apps and data they have access to. So maybe they have access to, certain resources within the data center, or maybe they're in the public cloud, or, they're using a whatever the engine is, the internet at large, again, through the secure web gateway, basically controlling and authorizing, access to the tools they're supposed to have. So having a unified SASE, really provides a lot of benefits, right? It provides that unified security posture. So instead of, having to go through, a handful of different interfaces to provide all these different functionalities that are, again, associated with zero trust network access and secure web gateway, SWG, CASB, there's one unified interface to manage everything. So we're going to reduce the complexity. We're going to make it easier on the operator. Through that same interface, we're going to see that digital experience monitoring piece. So we can actually drill down into a given user to see what's going on that user's connection at this point in time, regardless of whether it be related to CASB, SWG, or Zero Trust Network Access, ZTNA. Again, it's all presented within that one interface. And it scales. Through our approach, it's basically a cloud-based engine. So we can rapidly, scale up to meet demands. And, again, regardless of where you might be coming from throughout the world, so maybe you're in North America or in Europe or Asia or wherever you might be, we can always scale to meet demands that you might need to place on the system. So a little bit more detail about our SSE solution. So we're going to secure business access through our SSE solution. So you can see here at the bottom, we've got a few different types of users, and in the middle, we have the HPE Aruba Networking Security Service Edge. So whenever you see that little symbol, that represents our Security Service Edge, our product. And on the top part of the screen, we see that digital experience monitoring, kind of looking at what's going on within the SSE engine, but also providing that secure web gateway functionality, that zero trust network access, or reaching into things like corporate data centers, and cloud application security brokers. So going out to Dropbox or Box or again Salesforce or whatever it might be. So controlling access to those resources as well, and what an individual can do when they get to those resources. So with ZTNA, securing access to private applications, again, we're controlling that access into the data center, so we're able to see what's going on, and we can, allow the access that an individual is supposed to have while preventing access they shouldn't have. All right, and what you can ultimately do is replace that VPN connectivity, that VPN concentrator, or virtual desktop interface that you might have to deploy, which can become quite spendy and actually become kind of a bottleneck as well. You can displace all of those using a zero trust network access engine like Access. The secure web gateway, providing additional functionality such as URL filtering, so blocking those usual suspects that you would expect, and also providing that SSL inspection for things like malware. So if you've looked at next generation firewalls, whenever you want to do SSL inspection, that's a very compute intensive function. So you generally have to buy a much larger firewall than you thought you needed to. One of the nice things of having a cloud-based solution here is that these cloud-based resources can be spun up on demand. So, in terms of, providing things like DPI SSL, deep packet inspection over SSL, which means you basically need to decrypt sessions, look inside for things like malware, and then re-encrypting them and sending them on their way. The compute horsepower required to do that is readily available. That cloud application security functionality, again, controlling, being able to block uploads and downloads from, Box, Dropbox, those sorts of things. And again, allowing people access to things you're supposed to have access to. So maybe some users can actually upload and download, or other users can only, look at files without ever actually uploading them or downloading them. And then ultimately, that experience monitor. So we can actually see what an individual's connection looks like, and we can help identify problems quickly and determine what that end user's experience is, so that we can, rectify issues, again, hopefully before the phone rings. So what's so different about our particular solution? So we focus on on unity of our design. All right. If you look at some of the other competing solutions, they all started out in one place, right? They started off in doing ZTNA, or they started off doing SWIG, or they started off doing CASB. We kind of look at those as being SSE 1.0. They started off in one place, and then they've kind of added on different functionality as time went on. And it's not necessarily all integrated, in a nice way. Some solutions might take multiple different interfaces to do all of these functions. The Axis SSE, the HP Aruba SSE solution, has one interface to manage all those different aspects of the functionality. So again, it's all in one place. It's easy to manage. It's simple to use. So it simplifies the policy and the ability to inspect any traffic. And this is an important piece here, because not all traffic is web-based traffic, HTTP, HTTPS. A lot of vendors focus on just those types of traffic, but the HPE Aruba solution, can actually look at things like SSH and RDP. VoIP is an important one, because a lot of people still have those VoIP phones out there, right? Everything's not done on a mobile phone or cell phone. You need to be able to allow VoIP traffic to pass through it. You need to sometimes be able to facilitate that for the branch office, without necessarily having to bring up that IPsec tunnel back to corporate. AS400. So being able to facilitate connections into a mainframe. Again, not necessarily a web-based system, but different types of systems that you might have within your data center. And then being able to utilize many different backbones that are available. So our solution actually uses smart routing and a cloud backbone based on AWS, Azure, Google, and Oracle. So there's more on this coming up, but basically, rather than building our own, we can take advantage of any one of those backbones at any given time and choose the optimal connection for this particular user going to this particular destination. We can check what the health is on that and then select the best one. So again, it's all about delivering that the best possible user experience. Again, so we can accomplish the objectives of the business. And this is designed to enable users to access resources with or without an agent. So maybe you have corporate teams, corporate staff that are out there, and you're going to be able to put an agent on the machine, and you will do that. Maybe you also have contractors or some other set of individuals out there that you don't want to put an agent on their machine. So again, through this solution, you can use either approach, and you can use them both simultaneously. It really depends on what that individual's role is and what you need them to be able to do. Both approaches are available. So we have a global footprint. We utilize the major cloud providers. You can see them listed there, between Azure, AWS, GCP, Oracle. We have multiple tier 2 providers through local POPs, and then we're peered to local ISPs across the world with over 500 edge locations. And just because you'll see these coming up also, if you look at the bottom of the slide, you can see the SSE agent, that one kind of triangle looking thing, and then the SSE connector on the right. And that, the connector is what's going to live within your corporate data center, for example. And these work together to help secure your connection and facilitate connections between end users. We'll talk about that a little bit more coming up here in a moment. So what can we do? We make it easier for IT leaders to decide how they're going to approach. It's not an all or nothing solution. You can start with ZTNA. So in this case, City of San Jose replaced all the VPNs for remote employees using a ZTN approach. P&G also started with an agentless access for third parties. So they were spending literally millions of dollars a year sending out laptops to contractors who might be working for them, and sometimes those people would not return the laptops, or sometimes they would get the laptop and never show up for work. Those sorts of fun things. So was a tremendous cost savings for them just in hardware and the effort to try to get these individuals online by using the agentless approach offered by our SSE solution. And then VisionWorks modernized, their systems to boost access speeds for their point of sales systems. So again, because we can handle, multiple different types of protocols that might be used across, from the branch offices back to the corporate data center or whatnot, we can boost the performance and simplify the systems that are in place to, again, accomplish the goals of the business. So there's a cloud backbone. So we use a cloud backbone with a hyper resiliency and speeds. Okay. So what this really means is we can look at this. We have a connector. We have an agent. Excuse me. We have an agent on the far right hand side, which is on an endpoint device. So somebody using a laptop, for example, somewhere in Europe, Asia, and then we have an SSE connector on the left hand side. So that connector is probably sitting within, say, a data center somewhere. And it front ends a set of resources that individual might try to get to. And you can see that there are a set of providers that agent on that endpoint device might be able to utilize. Okay, so right now they can look at GCP and AWS, Oracle, Azure. And what will happen here is that agent will actually start going out and testing all the available routes that are available to go and reach that connector. And it'll start doing telemetry and checking to see what is my best possible venue in order to reach my connector at this point in time. And it'll ultimately make a decision. In this case, it chooses, the Oracle backbone, because right now, that is the best connection. But it will keep testing. Maybe that connection, that best provider will change, 2 hours, 3 hours down the road, and it'll switch to a different backbone provider. It really just depends on what are the conditions that that particular user at that particular location is experiencing at that point in time. All right, so we chose Oracle. We're using that. Again, we're collecting telemetry across the multi-cloud backbone. We have redundancy. So again, if for some reason that Oracle link were to fail, or again become unusable or less usable, we can actually switch over to a different link. And we can load balance if needed across it, which provides better resiliency, again, for that end user reaching those resources. We can also turn on Secure Web Gateway to maintain safe internet access, regardless of what people are trying to attempt. So we can provide web categorization. So we can look at the URLs, the things that people are trying to access, and block things by category. We can block things by specific URLs, by specific domain names. Maybe you have a just as a kind of a usual suspect, we're going to block gambling sites, for example. That's pretty common. But maybe one of your customers is I don't know, Harrah's, or maybe it's DraftKings, or for some reason you have a legitimate business reason to get to one of these sites. So you can actually say, okay, I'm going to block this category, but I'm going to allow access to this particular site. So you can actually categorize it, block the category while still punching a hole through for the things that you actually need to get to. As I mentioned, SSL inspection, always an important one. You need to be able to look at that encrypted traffic. That's something like 90+% of the internet today is encrypted. And in fact, if anyone can find, a top 1,000 website that is not running HTTPS, please let me know. I've been trying to find one, I can't. Everything's encrypted, right? Which means that if you want to look at it, you have to do this SSL, DPI SSL inspection. And again, if you're trying to do that on an on-prem device, it usually drives a much larger device than what you would need otherwise. Because all of our resources are being run in the cloud, it really becomes transparent to the organization. We spin up resources as required in order to perform the tasks at hand, including spinning up the horsepower, having the horsepower available to provide that DPI SSL functionality. Being able to look at reputation of websites, being able to do static scanning, dynamic analysis, and an isolation of particular files and things that we see. So you can see right there, sandboxing, again, throwing putting a file into a secure place before we allow that to get onto the internet. We can scan it, make sure that it's safe, and hold it there, as required, or block it. So 71% of organizations worldwide were affected by ransomware in 2022. And a lot of times this is the way you're going to see this actually work out, right? So you have, some bad actor who's performing some level of reconnaissance. They're going to send a phishing email, which, when someone, receives it, they unwittingly click on that, which kicks off a malicious macro, which ultimately installs malware. All right. With the Aruba SSE solution, you minimize that exposure. All right, so we're going to eliminate the attack surface. We're going to prevent applications from being discovered by placing them behind the SSE solution. So RDP is protected with no VPN, so that end user never actually gets connected to that end resource. There's always the SSE solution that's kind of the middleman and working in between the end user and that end resource. So that end user can't actually install anything or do something that you don't want them to do because they never actually reach that end resource. They're always talking to the Aruba SSE solution, which is, again, talking to that end user and talking to that end resource, and then bringing those two together within the Access Cloud, but always keeping both of them at arm's length from one another. After they install malware, you might try to own the domain controller, steal credentials, move laterally, but we're going to reduce that lateral movement as well. Again, because we have that least privileged user access, so everything is presented through a set of tiles. You get access to the things you're supposed to have. So I'm in the sales organization. I'm probably not going to get access to the financial records, right? They want to, you want to minimize those resources that someone is supposed to, you only want them to have access to the things they're supposed to have, right? You don't give, HR, the HR resources to everybody in the organization. Only people who are authorized to have access to those resources get that access, and we prevent lateral movement so that if someone were to compromise a machine and get on the network, they can't move left and right to get those critical resources. And then ultimately, they're going to try to steal data, install ransomware, demand ransom. But we're going to prevent that data loss as well. So again, because we're always kind of acting as the intermediary between that end user and that end resource, we can get a good look of everything that's going on. We can also scan all of that traffic, provide data leak prevention. So we can, look at the traffic as it's going through our service, scan it, allow it through if it's good, block it if it's bad, but again, provide control and safety around those resources so that someone can't try to exfiltrate your data, your critical data, and cause a bigger problem. So we want to accelerate that journey to SASE, right? So we're going to potentially start with ZTNA. Again, it's not an all or nothing proposition. You can start with one. So start with ZTNA and then grow to full security service edge. So we'll provide ZTNA, Zero Trust Network Access, for partners, potentially with an agentless approach, right? It's a partner machine. We don't have control over it. It's hard to put an agent on that machine. So, but we can provide agentless access so that they can, only have, the access to the resource they're supposed to have access to. All right, ZTNA for employees, we can put an agent on those and replace that legacy VPN. And some of the nice things that putting an agent on those machines does, it now means that servers, occasionally we need to do updates and those sorts of things, right? To that to PC platforms, end user systems. We need to support phone calls for VoIP systems. And when you have situations like that, you have a call manager that needs to reach out and touch that endpoint, or you've got, a server that needs to reach out and touch that endpoint to update software. When you have an agent installed, it starts to enable that functionality as well, because now you can actually reach out from, from inside corporate and reach that client. So it facilitates that sort of functionality as well. You can then start layering on things like Swig and CASB, as you decide to move on with those. And then you ultimately have zero trust access for all the business resources that might exist within your organization. And you have zero trust across the network for all users and devices. So whether it be an end user or whether it be some other device, maybe it's a point of sale device, whatnot, it only has the appropriate access to do the things that it's supposed to do. If you think about, say, the Target compromise that happened several years ago now, how did that compromise actually happen? It happened with through the heating HVAC system, right? By preventing access into some of these other things, that sort of breach could have been isolated and prevented from being able to, to move laterally and ultimately cause a bigger problem. So some of the benefits of the HP Aruba networking security service edge solution: security. So eliminate the attack surface and exposure. As I mentioned, the SSE solution is always the middleman within all of the data flow between that end user and that end resource. They never actually get complete access to it. They get access to the data, but always through the SSE engine first. So you're enforcing that least privilege access, protecting against ransomware, and so on. We're delivering the best experience possible for the end users and the IT admins. So end users receive quick, seamless access to applications because of intelligent, smart routing across our 500 plus edge locations. And admins can control access centrally and granularly, making it easy to secure the business from, across the entire deployment. So again, there's one single pane of glass. So whether we're talking about ZTNA or Secure Web Gateway or CASB, everything is done through that one single pane of glass to manage all of those different aspects of securing your network. So it makes it really simple for an administrator. They're not touching, 7, 10 different interfaces in order to get the job done. Everything is available in that one place. And offer simplicity as well. So optimize business with one solution. As I mentioned, everything is done through that one single interface, web-based interface. So there's no software, outside of a connector, which, provides that transit, from the outside world into those cloud-based resources. The connector lives within the data center. End users don't actually touch it, but it makes it really, really simple to manage that entire network. And you save money by reducing reliance on appliance-based security solutions. So instead of having to deploy, those next generation firewalls with all those expensive licenses, if you've bought next generation firewalls before, you know that generally the hardware is cheap and the services, the licenses, and all that. That's where the money is. But you can reduce the costs associated with that. And again, deploy it across your entire organization. And effortlessly scale with that cloud delivered platform. So again, because it is cloud-based, whether you have, 200 customers or 200 users today and 500 tomorrow and 5,000 the day after that, it's easy to scale and provide services to your user base. So if we look at the EDGEconnect Secure SD-WAN platform, that actually helps minimize the footprint of devices that you actually have in the branch office as well. So what can the EDGEconnect SD-WAN platform displace? Well, it can help displace the router that you have in the branch office, the firewall that you might have out there, the WAN optimization device that you might have out there, all of it in the SD-WAN device. So basically all of that footprint can be minimized and replaced with a single device, which again helps simplify the entire process and helps simplify management because everything is managed through one easy to use graphical orchestrator. So whether you have one site or 10 sites or 100 sites or whatever, everything is managed through one user interface via the orchestrator, which can be cloud-based or hosted on-prem. It also has the ability to, it utilizes a concept known as a business intent overlay. So it can steer traffic, depending upon the type of traffic that it is, to the appropriate destination. So perhaps it is something like, Microsoft Office 365 or Zoom calls or, teleconference like this. Rather than sending it through we generally trust those resources, right? So we don't necessarily have to send it through some, you know, uh, you know, a SSE engine for things like, or send it back to the data center, because that's just going to increase latency. We trust those resources. We're just going to break it out and send it out to those resources. So we can break that traffic out immediately. And if we're going to a headquarters or data center, we can actually send it directly there, potentially through another EDGEconnect platform. So we can start doing things like WAN optimization and boost to help improve performance on those as well. And then if we're going to those cloud-based resources, again, we can leverage the SSE solution to help, again, make sure that people are going to the right resources, that we can protect those data resources. Again, maybe we allow upload but not download, or download, and so on and so forth. But we can control exactly how people use those resources, and we can monitor that behavior as well. So we've tightly integrated both the SD-WAN portion of our solution and our SSE solution, as well as having relationships with other vendors as well. But through the SD-WAN portion, again, we have the orchestrator, which is how we configure all of it to that single pane of glass. And it integrates with automated connectivity into the Aruba networking SSE solutions, so our security service edge. So again, as we break out traffic, we send it directly through the secure web gateway, and that is our SSE solution. All of that can be configured with a push button interface within the SD-WAN orchestrator. Right? And then we can facilitate that connection, whether it be going to some sort of software as a service or the public cloud, or back to a data center. Again, we want to optimize those traffic flows. So some of the functions that the EDGEconnect platform can facilitate, again, it's stateful firewall functionality, deep packet inspection. I won't read through all of this, but there's also role-based segmentation. So if you're familiar with Aruba ClearPass, there are integrations that have occurred so that you can get very detailed information and be able to help identify traffic flows and what types of overlays they should be using. Again, through that ClearPass integration, which again becomes visible through the orchestrator itself. And then on the right-hand side, we see the ICSA Secure SD-WAN certification. So this is some good press. Basically, what this says is that, this is a very rigorous test. It's similar, but probably more. In fact, ICSA goes on to say this is probably more rigorous than their next generation firewall test because it's not defending just one site. It's defending a full set of sites simultaneously. So where a next generation firewall certification says, well, I've got this one site protected. The SD-WAN certification says, I've got this set of sites protected. So that was a very good press and very, very challenging test and certification to achieve. But what it does say is that, it has been validated by a third party so that you can, buy with confidence. So the three components of the unified SASE journey, secure remote user access with zero trust network access. So as you mentioned, ZTNA, replacing that legacy VPN access. So getting rid of that VPN concentrator, no longer required. And then making sure that people have access only to the resources they are supposed to be able to get to. Being able to secure how individuals actually go out to the cloud through the secure web gateway. And also being able to, get the appropriate access into different cloud-based services. So Salesforce, Dropbox, Box, those sorts of things through the cloud application security broker functionality. And then being able to modernize your branch office deployment by replacing, routers, firewalls, WAN optimization, all that set of devices that you might already have out there. Again, replacing it with a single EDGEconnect platform to provide all those different types of functionality all in one box. So our unified SASE solution provides award-winning SSE. And you can kind of see it right here. So the different portions of the HPE Aruba networking SSE include ZTNA, Secure Web Gateway, Cloud Application Security Broker, plus that digital experiencing monitoring. So you can see what a single user's connection might actually look like, and it's all in one easy to use interface. You don't have to go through 5, 10 different interfaces to get all this done. It's because we're kind of a SSE 2.0 solution. We've had an opportunity to the market has developed a little bit. We don't have bolt-on aspects of it. Everything is included into one easy to use system. So again, wherever a user might be coming from, whether they be in a branch office, the headquarters, on the road, what it is, they can always access these different services and then ultimately get access to the things that they're supposed to have. All right. So that is the presentation. Do you guys have any questions that I can answer for you?
Roger, thanks so much. Yes, if anyone in the participant queue has any questions, feel free to plug them into Q&A. I believe the chat is disabled during the recording, but Q&A will work. If you have any questions, plug them in. We can answer them live. Happy to do so.
Also, if there's no questions that you want to ask in this forum, when Tony sends over the information link for you guys to plug in the information for the gift, you can also, if I'm not speaking out of turn, Tony, they can also fill out the any questions they have privately there.
That's correct. So as Chris alluded to, I just launched an email to each of you. There's a link in there to capture your shipping information. Also ask a few questions if you don't mind answering. In there, you can note that you'd like a follow-up meeting. We'd love to speak with you on an individual basis on a follow-up meeting with you and your team. So feel free to select that. Be happy to meet with you and keep the discussion going. Oh, I do see something coming in. Bear with me.
Yeah. Roger, we got one question in there now.
Okay.
Have you seen this used in OT/ICS environment or have use cases?
I'm sorry, I got a OT or ICS. Could you tell me what spell those acronyms for me? OT.
I didn't get the email. Okay, bear with me.
Patrick, can you spell out OT and ICS acronyms, please?
Operation Technology, Industrial Critical Systems.
Oh, I believe we do have use cases with that. I would almost put those on par with things like cash registers, right? It's similar in technology where you have which was one of the use cases I had mentioned there for like lens crafters and the like, where we have devices that actually have to communicate, back and forth between other systems on the back end, but we need to protect those resources as well. So it would be similar in concept. It really, as long as that device is using a TCP UDP protocol, it can certainly be supported, right? We can, again, provide that functionality to ultimately securely connect that end resource. Again, as long as it's coming over a TCP UDP sort of connection, to a back-end resource. So that, well, I wouldn't expect to see any problems there at all.
Okay, I don't see any other questions, but we can hang around a moment if you'd like to plug anything else in. Hopefully you all did receive that email from me, Donna, shooting that to you right now, a reboot of that. But if for some reason you don't have anything from me in the next few minutes, just let me know. Happy to resend that, but you should have that. As mentioned, you can note in there that you'd like a follow-up. We'd love to do that. Definitely appreciate everyone's time today. Thanks for spending some time with us. Yeah, I guess I don't see anything else, and we can give you guys back a few moments.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. Look forward to meeting with you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk soon.